Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian. Last week we were in Norway on a trip that was organized by the Atlantic Council think tank and sponsored by the Norwegian Ministry of Defense. While there we met with defense officials across the nation. While in Oslo we met with Øystein Bø, Norway's Minister of State for Defense. It was a joint interview with Defense One's Carolyn Hauk. Sir, thanks very much for taking time out of your schedule to meet with us. First question I want to ask you is Zapad 16. We've had an opportunity to talk to Girmas Jaglenskas. We've talked to Peter Pavel, the chairman of the NATO Military Committee, General Michael Bodin of the Supreme Commander of Sweden's Armed Forces, and so we're honored to be in Norway, and thanks very much for sponsoring us here. I want to start with the Zapad 17 military exercise. What are some of the capabilities that the Russians have demonstrated? Enormous amount of investment the Russians made, precision weapons, electronic warfare capabilities, SNAP exercises, and the nature of this exercise was a little bit different than folks originally thought. A lot more troops were massed much more quickly to the northern part of the Kola Peninsula. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you saw the Russians do that you thought were interesting and worth noting.
Now, first, what we saw the Russians do was the things we know they have been training at and building up. That is more mobility, more precision weapons, and we also saw them having more people than we thought they should have, as you say, and we were a bit disappointed that they haven't pre-noticed this exercise that they were supposed to do according to the Vienna documents.
Was there, there was a little bit of disruption in the Kirkenes airport that affected because of some of the electromagnetic exercises that the Russians were doing. It was seen as not intentional. But what kind of preparations do you have to do? What sort of investments do you have to make as Norway? And what are some of the operational concepts you have to develop to deal in a future where the Russians can not only mass fires, mass troops very rapidly, but also then do a whole bunch of electromagnetic things in the electronic warfare sphere that could be very, very disruptive?
Well, this is a part of modern warfare that we have to be prepared for and be prepared for, and we also do our electronic warfare, as it were. And I cannot speak about all of that on open microphone, but we are prepared on meeting those challenges, and we are preparing also meeting the challenges of increased mobility and so on.
Is there anything that they're doing that is shaping what you're doing in terms of preparations? There was a defense white paper last year that took into account the developments that we've seen since 2014, but also over the past few years. Is there anything that they did that changes or helps or is going to help you reconsider your course in terms of defense modernization, operational improvements, doctrine that you've already been working on?
As far as I know, there was not much at the exercise that made us change our plans, but we are, of course, very much aware that we have much shorter warning time, so we are working, and that's part of our long-term plan, working on our preparedness levels.
Let me ask you about NATO's discussion to create two new commands, an Atlantic Command, as well as taking a look at a logistics command. Atlantic Command has been something that's been very important to Norway, and it's a case that you've been making. What's the case you're making to the other member nations regarding the importance of both of those commands to prepare the alliance to improve alliance deterrence capabilities more broadly?
First, the case we're making is that NATO needs a command structure that is fit for purpose, that is fit for meeting the challenges that NATO are facing. And secondly, we believe there is a need to focus on the north. We believe there is a need to focus on particularly maritime blue water operation, and we believe there is a need for a particular command to handle those issues.
What's the best way to deal with Russia from a strategic perspective as a country that's been on the that you've shared a border with for hundreds of years?
Well, based on our experience, the best way to meet the Russians is being predictable, being recognizable, and being firm.
Let me take you to the issue of Trident Juncture. That's the big exercise that's going to be happening next year in this neighborhood. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of that exercise, preparing what's going on in order to be able to get the most out of it.
Well, that's the Trident Juncture 2018 will be one of the largest NATO exercises on collective defense in a long, long time. We believe it's important to exercise collective defense, and we believe it's the right thing to do in our waters and our vicinity.
And what are some of the preparations you're making now to host people for that major operation? Thousands and thousands of troops.
We are looking deeply into our obligations as a host nation, and we're looking into how can we in the best possible way handle the exercise, because that is the way we will have to handle Allied reinforcement if there is a crisis.
Let me take you to the question of modernization. When you spoke to us a little bit earlier, you made a note that standardization is very, very important, especially for a small country. So, for example, for the submarines you're buying or acquiring from Germany, you want that to be the same standard to help reduce the overall support cost. You're also a partner on the P8 program with the United Kingdom as well as the United States. Very important anti-submarine capability to upgrade as you go from your older generation P3s to the new one. Talk to us about both of those programs and how important they are in the scheme, and whether you're satisfied with the progress of both of the programs and the capabilities you're going to be getting.
I think it's important that standardization, as you call it, or having the same equipment, actually gives us synergies in the form that we can get both operational benefits from operating together, and we get maintenance benefits from being able to cooperate in maintenance. And then I believe that when we enter into programs as the submarine program, then we are able to work together, smaller and bigger nations, and have our industry having benefit for good programs like that.
Is there any concern on your part whether the British who are going through their own mini defense review right now, if there are changes to the British program, do you think that affects what you do at all, given that you have struck that partnership with the UK?
Well, we have on the P8s, we have a trilateral agreement between the UK, the US, and Norway from June. I've been speaking to my colleague on working together, so I believe that we will continue working together. And speculations on how the British will end up, I cannot relate to.
Let me take you to F-35. Last question. The aircraft, you have 4 of them, I think, at Luke Air Force Base, but 3 of them are going to be arriving here in Norway when the King and the whole defense team, and you're going to be there. I think it's on November 10 is the ceremony. Talk to us about how important, it is a controversial program here in Norway because it is such a large expenditure of money. Talk to us about the capability that's going to be bringing the Norwegian Armed Forces. What's the case you're making, and what are the special preparations that you're making to accept those aircraft here next month?
Well, first we have 7 delivered. They're all at Luke, and the next 3 will arrive in Norway at 10 November, as you say. Then we will have 10. And we've been acquiring the F-35s because they're the state-of-the-art combat airplane, and they're going to give us a capability to meet future challenges. We are also preparing the main airbase for receiving the plane, so we put up new infrastructure, and we are on schedule to receive them.
Last question, land warfare strategy. You briefed it out to Parliament. Talk to us about the importance of that, because the F-35 is a maritime asset, it's a land asset, and also an air asset. Talk to us about the whole integrated land strategy that you're presenting.
Well, we just presented a land power proposition to Parliament, and that's work that we've been doing over the last year. We believe it's important to look also at the land power to make sure that we have a land power that can meet future challenges and that can work with the technology that they also will share with the naval and air forces.
Talk to us a little bit about the industrial base philosophy of Norway. Small country, you rely a lot on key allies. Tanks from Germany and submarines from Germany, for example, the F-35 program, in which Norway has been a partner nation from the beginning of that effort. But from a broader perspective, what are some target areas that Norway, you feel, has to focus its investment on in a very rapidly changing technological cycle that, your friend Bob work, you guys spent a lot of time talking about the third offset strategy. That was predicated on very rapid global commercial technological change and how it's changing the military picture. Where are the key investment areas that you're talking to Morten Tiller about and saying, hey, look, here's the places that we have to focus?
The government presented a defense industrial strategy last year, and that is focusing on 8 areas like missiles, like radars, like ammunitions, autonomous equipment, and those are the areas that we encourage our industry to be good in. And what we have seen is that focusing on some areas instead of widening ourselves and having an ambition to make big platforms, that actually makes our industry better. So I would claim that in some of these fields, our defense industry are among the best in the world. Look, for instance, at missiles.
Sir, thanks very much.
Thank you.